The Tigers Den podcast. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Tigers Den podcast, season 3, episode 6. As always, I'm Cole Gerard, alongside
Thomas Mathis.
Thomas took a week off last week. Just schedules didn't line up. So we're back. 2 road games, 2 big dubs. Seems like the offense is finally clicking and seeing some good complimentary football. So let's just dive right into this thing. And what have you seen the last 2 weeks where you're like, where's this been the last 4 games? If you see this the last 4 games, we might be 6-0 right now.
Obviously, the level of competition was not the greatest last 2 weeks, but not every team you're going to play every week is going to be good. It just happens that we played those 2 teams after we were 1-3 instead of 0-1 or something like that. But I think it definitely was a confidence builder. Going off how you played the last couple of games, you definitely needed something to kind of give you some confidence back, give you a little fire in the tank, a little fuel in there. So I think offense looked good. Honestly, I didn't really watch complete full game of both those games just because they were pretty much a blowout. Kind of flipped between a couple of games. But looking back at the North Carolina game, I really liked how just right out of the gun we were on offense.
Some creativity.
Double pass play like that. Boston College, watched less of the Boston College game compared to North Carolina just because going into that game, you look at Boston College's defensive injury report.
Yeah.
The whole defense and pretty much just backups were hurt.
Seems like me and you might have started.
I mean, I probably could have put the pads back on, but it's good to get a couple wins under your belt, especially after struggling first 4 games of the season. So this is where things get real. I'm not saying we still have playoff hopes, but if there's any, I think it's like a 2% chance. But if there are any hopes at all, this is where you got to lock in, got to perform week in and week out. It's not going to be an easy go from here on out.
Yeah, and we'll jump into this SMU game later in the episode. Let's keep talking about this Boston College game. I mean, it looks like Cade Klubnik is finally playing with that confidence again, getting his swagger back. Wide receivers getting that separation they need. Antonio Williams is just all over the field, after being out the first couple of games. And then TJ Moore and Brian Westco still getting in the mix and putting up big plays on offense. And, we're going to touch something on a little bit later in the episode about the defense, Tom Allen, et cetera. But, I mean, Cade Klubnik just looks like Cade Klubnik from last year again. And I know, like we said, the talent-wise, BC and North Carolina. But if you look at the Troy game, statistically, they are the worst opponent we have played all year. And we played a good second half. We didn't play good. And it's like, in the interviews yesterday, they said it's finally time to play good in the Valley. The fans deserve it. And so I'm excited to be back in the Valley Saturday against SMU and kind of build onto that. But, looking at the stat sheet, the plays, or the playbook and all that with Boston College, their offense is statistically pretty good. They're a 1-5 team now, but looking at them, I was like, okay, they're gonna be trying to throw the ball all over the field, and their quarterback's pretty good. He moved around a little bit. I don't know what his stats were on the night, but not too crazy. But I mean, he ran the ball well. What did he finish with rushing? Not
16.
He must have had a lot of sacks because at the end of the game he started running the ball.
He got sacked a bunch.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just finally to see us play complimentary football, and when you come out there and you're slinging the ball around, and you're not, we're just playing with creativity and just finally open up the playbook. It seems like Garrett Riley was holding this team back, holding Cade back in the offensive line. And shout out freshman Braden Jacobs, played a great game. So I'd like to see more of him. But, I mean, you didn't get to see the whole game. But, I was there in person watching. I'm just like, where's this been? Where's this been to finally feel that confidence and knowing you're going to win a ball game?
And I think that's kind of going back to what I said. Obviously, the level of competition was not there. I would even say from parts of the game that I watched, I would think from parts of the game that I did watch against Boston College to the game I watched against Troy, I think Troy played 10 times better. They might not have had a better team, but they played 10 times better. This is just me. I think potentially if Troy comes out second half and shows up the same team they were in the first half, I think they potentially beat us just the way we were playing. But obviously, I didn't get to watch a whole lot of the Boston College game, so didn't really get to see a whole lot just from both sides of the ball. I think I'm trying to think of just some like key moments.
Sammy Brown,
I watched
strip sack fumble.
Wesco scored the touchdown in the corner of the end zone. I think that was kind of when I quit watching, or I was just started flipping between games. But I mean, it is what it is. The team was bad. Boston College was not good. But like I said, this is a confidence booster. Hopefully, we see, like you said, the old Cade come out, and not even old Cade, because I mean he still made some mistakes, but hopefully see a better Cade than we've been seeing against a team that has some fire in them, and they have some better athletes and a more complete team with SMU. They have a lot of weapons on offense, and as you can tell from playing them last year, their defensive run game is very good. So going to have to figure out how to kind of spread out the offense and know when to run it and when to throw it. And then on defense, I know their tight end's pretty good, and then I know they've got a running back that's pretty quick. So definitely going to need to be on our A game tackling. So
yeah. Let's get his comments. How's Cade Klubnik's injury? Looked okay. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. I mean, the ankle's been taped up all year, but should be ready to go. Let's go to Mitchell. Cole, what are your thoughts on James Franklin hire as some kind of assistant or analyst for the Tigers? I would not hate that at all. James Franklin is a big offensive mastermind, knows a lot of football. Just did not work out this season at Penn State. Preseason, number 2 or something like that, because it was preseason 1 and 2 with Texas and Penn State, and he's fired mid-year. I would love to get James Franklin to Clemson in some kind of analyst role, coordinator role, depending on how the rest of the season goes and who departs, who gets.
I think the only reason you don't see him in a role like that, say at Clemson or at a bigger school, is I saw something in his contract where if he's not contracted to make more than $8 million a year, then Penn State only has to pay the difference of whatever he's making subtracted from $8 million. So obviously he's going to want to try and go somewhere where he's getting that full $8 million, getting that full payout. But I've been saying the same thing about Penn State for years. They're overrated. They play. I mean, a lot of people say the same thing about ACC, and I agree with them. Sure. Week in and week out, you never know what kind of team you're going to be playing. But same thing with Penn State. They win some big game, or they win some games every now and then. But James Franklin's always been known to lose a big game. I can't remember the last big game he's won.
It's only won 4 top 10 games ever.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of people saw that coming, and I don't think it helped with Drew Aller going down, which I don't think he was playing as good as he probably could have been. So up to this point in the season, but I don't know. I'm excited to see who kind of takes over that role, because it's a big-time role, big-time position in college football.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't think he would come here is because if somehow, we've heard Bill Belichick and the AD there say that he's not going anywhere. He's going to build the program. But James Franklin to Chapel Hill would be a big thing. And I think if Bill Belichick departs there, gets fired, resigns, retires, whatever, I think James Franklin's name's on the ballot there somewhere, maybe even in Blacksburg, Virginia. So
I think James Franklin's a pretty good coach at building a program, kind of starting one, taking it from a losing program or a program that's not really doing well, and kind of building it up to a more known program, kind of like what he did at Vanderbilt and obviously did at Penn State. But I just don't think he's kind of the finishing type of coach. He's a coach to come in there and save a program kind of for a couple of years and bring them back to life for a little bit, and then that's pretty much all you get out of him.
Yeah. We'll jump to another one. Eddie says, the first half, the last 2 weeks, the offensive looked really good both games. The second half has been subpar, in my opinion, when we see this team put together 4 solid quarters of football. I think it's when you finally, I think it's someone's going to take not blowing out a team and just playing a good football game, because, I mean, the starters have gotten taken out in the last 2 weeks. Our starters did play most of the third quarter, but obviously Cade went out midway through the third, so didn't get to play a full game, not knowing if he would have played a full game anyways, but he'll play a lot more than we thought. So I don't know. I think it just depends on how the game's going. Obviously, I mean, we know who Dabo is. You're up 30. You're not going to sit there and, lay the hammer down. So,
I wish they do every now and then, but I think kind of like what Cole said, SMU is a lot better team than what we've seen in the last 2 weeks. So I think you'll see a lot more kind of fight and a lot more aggressiveness throughout the 4 quarters, judging how this game will look, whether we're up by a touchdown or down by 2 touchdowns going into halftime, 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree, this is the game where I really want to see them play aggressive all 4 quarters. You go up, you don't let off on offense. If you're up by a touchdown going into the 4th quarter, finish the game, win the game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I mean, there's no point in letting off the gas, because then that just gives them a chance to come back into the game, and we lose too many games doing that. So I just want to see us play aggressive for more than a half or more than 3 quarters.
Yeah, this is back-to-back games. North Carolina and Boston College with wide receivers with 100-plus yards. TJ Moore last week at UNC, and then Westcott obviously at Boston College. I mean, just finally seeing him opening up the field. I think Antonio had about 80 yards, 70 yards or something, maybe less, but just was, all over the field, a lot of crossing routes, just stuff over the middle that you want to see out of your offense that you saw last year at Texas and, through the first 7 games of the season last year before the Louisville when it kind of slowed down everything. But let's just keep that going. And then I want to talk about, we haven't done an episode since then, I don't think. Tom Allen being on the field is just giving this defense more confidence, getting them fired up, and, kind of making them play with that mentality of almost like a Brent Venables kind of thing.
Yeah.
You saw, I think it was the Stephon Green sack at North Carolina and St. Brown tackle, and Ben Bowler and Tom Allen are on the field just looking like maniacs. And then obviously at BC we had Sammy around with the forced fumble, and TJ Parker recovered it. And then you had the Ricardo Jones interception in the end zone, giving Clemson 2 huge takeaways, one of them being in the end zone, and one of them was going to halftime where we finally got to kick the 50-yard field goal with Nolan Hauser with 3 seconds left. So, I mean, just talk to me, because we haven't had a guy like Tom Allen with that energy on the sideline since Brent Venables. Obviously Wes Goodwin was a little more calm coach, a little collective, and, didn't give that fierce meathead linebacker kind of vibe. So just, kind of talk to me about that.
Definitely, like you said, having a lot of aggressiveness and fiery on the sideline when we get a big turnover, a big stop. But at the same time, when our defense is playing bad and when they're missing tackles and letting the offense break out for runs or deep passes or something, it also I think it makes the defense play a little bit better, because it's different getting some criticism and coaching through a headset or through a phone on the sideline versus when your coach is, in your face, grabbing your face mask, yelling at you. Definitely you respond better that way, and I think having him on the sideline is nothing but positive. He's out there to celebrate the good stuff and also critique the bad stuff and fix the bad stuff. And I liked him in the box just because he's able to see some schemes, but I think he's smart enough to kind of know some schemes and see the schemes on the field. He doesn't have to be up high in the box. So I think it's that much more beneficial having him on the field, just like you said, for that kind of like little boost in our team, especially our defense.
Yeah, we'll go to another comment. Cole, what do you think about Clemson beating SMU? Do we get a night game versus Duke or 3:30? I mean, looking at Duke, they're undefeated in the ACC right now. Darian Mensah transferred from Tulane, putting up numbers at Duke. Got Manny Diaz controlling that team. So I think you beat SMU at home, and depending on TV and all, you might get a 3:30 or a 7:30 kickoff versus Duke. We'll go. All right, we'll talk about SMU. Obviously, we saw pretty much almost the same SMU team from last year, outside of a couple defensive players. But I want to talk about Kevin Jennings. I mean, he's going to give Clemson's defense a better look than Max Johnson or the Boston College offense from last week. So, I mean, in the ACC Championship I need English class. In the ACC Championship game last year, Jennings was 31 for 50, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think 2 of those throwing touchdowns came in just the 4th quarter when they made their 17-point comeback versus the Tigers last year. it's going to be a good game. I mean, they're sitting at 4-2. I think they're undefeated in the ACC as well. It's gonna be a big matchup for sure. Obviously, Clemson's sitting at 3-3, trying to get back above 500, and we're sitting at 500 for the first time this season. We were 1-1 earlier this season, but we don't want to talk about earlier in the season. Will Cade be 100%? We talked about that earlier. It's going to be one thing if he is, one thing if he's not. I don't think that ankle's been 100% the whole year either way. But, I mean, they chopped his leg a lot at BC, and he looked like he was struggling. But, he came out the medical tent, gave the thumbs up. But, I mean, obviously you don't want that. You want Cade to go down. I mean, no hate to the backups or anything, but we've seen who the sole starter of this Clemson offense is. So what does Clemson have to do to get back? I mean, we're back home for the first time in 4 weeks. That Syracuse game is flushed out of the way. Different Clemson team, in my opinion, now. I mean, we've seen them the last 2 weeks. If they can carry this momentum into this Saturday and get a big win versus SMU at home, what does that look like for the rest of the year for the Tigers?
And like looking at SMU, you look at their record and you see they blew out Syracuse. That Syracuse team that they played was not the same one we played. Obviously, Syracuse's starting quarterback went down out for the season in the game against us. I think if he stays in that game, I think it honestly is a lot worse than it was. But so it's kind of hard to judge how we're going to play against them versus how they played against an opponent we lost to. But just looking at them defensively, obviously Kevin Jennings kind of tore us up last year in the ACC Championship. We just had a couple more better plays that won us the game. But you got to be ready to stop him. He's going to scramble. He can run the ball. And I think another good thing he does is kind of underrated is I think how he throws off the run, scrambling out of the pocket. Kind of reminds me of how Spencer Rattler was when he was at South Carolina. He was so much better throwing if he was rolling out, throwing across his body. That way you kind of just threw off the defense because they had a couple guys kind of start crashing on the quarterback thinking he's running, and then somebody opens up. So I think that's where they get a lot of their stuff from. I think if you just kind of contain him, keep him in the pocket, hopefully get a lot of sacks, even if it's not getting a lot of sacks, contain him the best you can. Run defense got to be on top of their stuff. I saw a video where they clocked a running back last week. I don't know who they played against, but last week he ran
the fastest time, didn't he?
23 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So obviously, these little diving at their feet, that kind of stuff is not going to cut it. You're going to have to hit him. You're going to have to wrap up. And even if you don't make the tackle, if you just wrap up, wait for everybody to kind of you want all 11 heads going towards the ball. So just tackling's got to be on point. And looking at their defense, I don't know how their run game defense is this year compared to last year. I know last year they had one of the best run game defenses in the nation. But even if that is still the case, don't be afraid to just let loose and throw the ball down the field because, you start doing that, then they're going to start playing a little bit better in the secondary. Then that's when you kind of hammer them with the run and then flip it. If they don't really show a heavy run defense, then, establish the run early. So then that gives them kind of bait them in, and then you throw it behind them.
Yeah, I'd say Clemson's going to need a hot start Saturday. Got to take control of the game early because Jennings kind of he's a mobile quarterback. He can get out the pocket. He can make you miss. He can get out of the pocket fast, stop the sacks, whatever. It's kind of like Lenore Sellers without the the build of Lenore Sellers, big old quarterback. But so we're going to need a big day from that Clemson defense. I think Tom Allen on the sideline kind of gives them that boost, that fired up mentality to try to escape Death Valley to win. I don't know about anybody else, but this is kind of giving Clemson versus Notre Dame game vibes from 2023. We were sitting at 4-4. We were 3-3 now, so not far behind that. And then I think Notre Dame had like 2 losses, and they were like 25th in the country coming to Clemson and got that big win. So hopefully the Valley's rocking, 3:30 game. I expect a good crowd. The last showing in Death Valley was not what we wanted, but this is obviously not the same Clemson team we saw a month ago. We'll go to a comment. Does Duke get by Georgia Tech Saturday? I think, looking at that, Duke is playing at home. They're a 1.5-point favor somehow. That offense is really good with Mensa. Sitting on the year, Mensa is 143 for 205 for 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 1,838 yards. And you look at Haynes King, 94 for 132, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 971 yards. We know Haynes King is not 100%. He hasn't been 100% in the last 2 years, maybe since he left A&M. I think if Mensa and this Duke offense gets off to a fast start, Duke's got a good defense, got a good offense, but there's no physical advantage point for that Georgia Tech team other than maybe Haynes King. But if you get to him fast, he's going to go down. I think that's where Clemson missed a lot on him on third down. If it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and medium, the ball is going to be in Haynes King's hands. So I think if Mensa and that offense can get to a fast start, I think Manny Diaz can escape.
I think looking at that game, it depends on who controls the line of scrimmage. I think if Duke goes out there and they control the line of scrimmage, they fire off the ball, fire off the line every snap, both sides of the ball. I think they have a good potential to win that game more than people think. Looking at Haynes King, doesn't have a lot of passing stats, but at the same time, you look and he's got 87 carries, 440 yards, and 9 rushing touchdowns. So obviously, what he lacks in his passing ability, obviously has in his rushing ability, and Clemson saw that. But I think Duke has a possibility to win this. I think pretty much any game is winnable between any team. I know that sounds pretty stupid, but just personally watching college football this year, it's like you never know who's going to win. It's honestly somebody could be 30-point favorites and they go out there and they get upset. So it's just across all of college football, really hadn't been a team that's just wowed me, been lights out. In the past years, Clemson was like that for a couple of years. Bama was like that for a couple of years. Last 3 to 4 years, Georgia was like that, where they were just winning games by 30 or 40 there was no potential for them to lose. But I really don't see that this year, other than maybe Ohio State. But other than Texas, I don't really know who exactly they've played. So I think, honestly, college football, the playoffs, national championships, pretty much
any given Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Blue Devils in that one. I think Duke gets it done. I think Mensa goes out there fired up. Lost 2 stupid games early in the season, versus Illinois, and then at Tulane. I think that could have been like a head case kind of thing for Mensa because he transferred from Tulane. I'm sure he was going through a lot of emotions, but other than that, we didn't write down our pick 'em this week. But I'm just going to call out a few games and we'll do it from there. So we'll start off with Louisville traveling to number 2 Miami with Carson Beck. The Hurricanes open up as a 13.5-point favor. I mean, this Miami team just looks stellar. I mean, they're looking like the best team in the country, in my opinion, right now, right outside of Ohio State. I think if Miami gets a big win this weekend at home, I think you might see a new number 1 on Sunday. But, talking about this Louisville team, I mean, Miller Moss transferring from Southern Cal last year, 1,300 yards, 120 for 179, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and then, Brown, who I think was going to be one of the best running backs in the country coming into the season, only has 46 carries for 3 touchdowns. Lit us up last year in Death Valley. And then looking at Miami, Carson Beck, 102 for 139, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1,213 yards. Can this, Louisville Cardinal team go to, Miami and escape with a win after losing, a tough overtime game at home against Tony Elliott and the Virginia Cavaliers? Chandler Morris went out late in that game. So obviously, I think Louisville had a bye last week, so they're coming off the bye week, pumped up. Can they go to Hard Rock Stadium and escape with a dub?
I don't think so. Taking Miami on this one. Carson Beck, obviously, he's had his ups and downs throughout his career, but I mean, he's a veteran. He's experienced. He's got plenty of experience playing behind Stetson Bennett, and then just playing under Kirby Smart, that kind of thing. Played in some big-time games in the SEC against some good teams. Only had a couple of losses, so I think he's pretty used to some big-time games. So I think they take care of this. Usually, I would say Miami's due for a loss, just a crap in the bed, giving up a random loss. I don't think this is the one.
Yeah.
I think you see a closer game than most people think, but I think Miami just takes it away in the fourth quarter. So I'm taking the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that as well. Unless Miller Moss and that Louisville team can go out there and get a big fast start and control that ball game and get those stops on defense, I don't see them escaping Hard Rock with a win. So We're going to take it to Nashville, Tennessee. The Vanderbilt Commodores coming off a bye week loss coming off the loss to Alabama, enter the bye week, sitting at 5-1, number 17 in the country. The LSU Tigers are traveling there, number 10 in the country, 5-1, coming off of a win against South Carolina. Can Diego Pavia get this done at home? It seems like the last couple, not the last couple of years, forever, any big team coming to Vanderbilt, you're going to see that away team fill up the stands. Is this the game that Vanderbilt's fans show up for and take over the stadium, against LSU? They're going to travel well down there to Nashville. We saw Alabama last year. Alabama lost that game, but there was nothing but crimson red in the stands. Can Diego Pavia get it done? I think Nussmeier and that LSU team is probably one of the most overrated top 10 teams. I know Clemson lost to them. I know that. But statistically, it's just not there. Clemson had multiple chances to win that ball game. South Carolina had multiple chances to win that ball game. Is this the team that finally gets back to Nussmeier, Brian Kelly's team, and gives them that second loss of the year?
I think so. I haven't seen a lot from LSU offensively. Defensively, they're pretty good defensively on that side of the ball. Offensively, just Nussmeier really hasn't showed me a whole lot. Like we said, yeah, we lost to them, but you see how our season's going right now. So really, a win over Clemson. What is that saying right now? But watching LSU against South Carolina, that was the main game I was watching Saturday night. I didn't see a whole lot from LSU. They had multiple chances to put the game away, and it was like they just couldn't. I will say about the number one option on their offense is Trey'Dez Green, the big tight end. I think he's like 6'8", something like that. Pretty much a one-on-one with him, you're losing it every time. He just has good positioning. Good basketball background. He can box out in the end zone. He can go up and get a 50-50 ball. It's pretty much their only – I know Barrion or what's not Barrion Brown, Anderson.
For LSU?
Yeah.
You talking about Barrion Brown from Kentucky?
Not him. Anderson. I can't think of his name now. But I really haven't seen enough. Aaron Anderson. I knew it was similar to Barrion.
Right.
I haven't seen enough from them. I think Vanderbilt's fired up this year. They lost a close game to Alabama until Alabama scored to get to cover. But I think Vanderbilt's kind of fired up. This is kind of the year where they've got the guys, no matter if they're 7th and 8th years like most of their team is. They've got the guys. They've got experience on both sides of the ball. I think this is kind of the game that they take away, and they create a chaos in Nashville on Saturday night.
Yeah, give me the Doors. Give me the Commodores. I think they erupt Broadway Saturday night after that win, send the Cajuns back to Louisiana. We're going to take it to Athens, Georgia. Number 9 Georgia against number 5 Ole Miss. This Lane Kiffin team sitting at 6-0 looks really good this year. I thought the struggles with Jackson Dart's departure would hit them fast and early, but it seems to be the opposite. UGA opens up as a 7.5-point favorite. Can the Rebels travel to Athens and win that game for the second year in a row?
I haven't really watched a whole lot of Ole Miss this year. I know they're kind of back and forth between a couple quarterbacks. I know their starter that was starting at the beginning of the season, he's been out, or they haven't been playing. I think he got hurt first or second game. He's been out, and they've just been kind of holding him until he's healthy. They've been getting the job done. Georgia, I think Georgia wins, especially in Sanford Stadium. Georgia's a hard team to beat any day of the week, especially at home. And I think after last week, after the Auburn game, Kirby has them kind of fired up after some people were, speculating that referees had a hand in the game. I didn't even watch the game, so I really don't know. But I think Georgia's just a tough team to beat. I think the Bulldogs take this one away.
AJ's getting ahead of himself in the Insta comments saying that I picked Ole Miss. I haven't picked them just yet, but I'll tell you why I'm going to pick them in just a second. I think Ole Miss can go to Athens and control this game and get the win, but they're not. I'm going to pick Ole Miss to win, but they're not going to win just because if the SEC officials let Kirby get away with that crap, they let him get away with at Auburn last week. Did you see that?
He was clapping.
Hey, I was clapping. I was looking at him. Timeout.
His right hand was hurt, so it's like that.
He couldn't bend it, so he was just kind of. It was like a golf clap, but just with the tips. I clapped. I was timeout. And then they slowed it down. You can read his lips. He was saying timeout. Stole that game from Auburn, in my opinion. I think Georgia should be a 3-loss team.
I didn't even watch the game. Sorry.
I mean, chip shot, field goal, and kneeling. Guy misses it, and then that crap Saturday. So, yeah, I'll take the Bulldogs in this one, but I think Ole Miss can go down there and win it for sure. And we'll end with Clemson. Actually, we got Tennessee, Alabama. We can't bypass that one. Number 11, Tennessee traveling to number 9, Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Alabama opening up as a 7.5-point favor. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. Give me the Tide. Ty Simpson keeps rolling. Looks at the Heisman odds. He's probably going to run away with it here in the last 2 months. Give me the Tide.
I like Tennessee. I got some love for my Volunteers up there, but Alabama's I think game 1 against Florida State was kind of a fluke. I don't think they were really ready for that game. And every game after that, they've been a completely different team.
So is Florida State.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of
that's just too
like the LSU Clemson situation. The teams that you expected to go into that game, you didn't see the rest of the season so far. Always got some love for Rocky Top, but I think Bama takes care of this one. And then we'll take it before we do Clemson. We'll take it to.
Give me the Tide.
We'll take it to Williams-Brice.
Oh man.
12:45.
12:45 kickoff. It's an odd time for sure.
I really didn't realize it was 12:45. But I think, and here's my thing with the Sooners is Mateer was not ready for the Texas game. I think you should have sat him.
It's kind of hard to though in that game.
I agree, but at the same time, for majority of the game, 75% of the game, Oklahoma's defense was setting their offense up. They were getting stops. 6-3 going into halftime. You can't ask for much more from your defense, and then you go out there and Mateer just wasn't ready physically. You saw a couple throws that were just nowhere near the receiver. They were underthrown, overthrown, that kind of thing. And that's because he hadn't played, in 2 to 3 weeks. So I don't think he was ready for that game. I think this is a game that if Mateer is still not 100%, that I think with the recent news of O-line coach getting fired and what's his name? Got promoted. I know it. He's from Georgia State.
Oh, Sean Elliott.
As fiery as Sean Elliott is, seeing him take over O-line, I think this is a game where South Carolina has a lot of potential to win. I think the biggest thing comes from what that offensive line can do. And if they can hold up against Oklahoma's defense, I think Oklahoma, no matter really how John Mateer plays, if South Carolina's O-line can hold up against the defense and have a little bit more fire and, look like they have a couple brain cells like they haven't looked like last couple of weeks, I think they have a chance. But, I think South Carolina's due for an upset every now and then. I think this is the week they get it. I think this is the week that they take down the Sooners in Williams-Brice.
I think it can happen, especially if Mateer does not look his best or 100% at all. But I can tell you that Oklahoma team's going to be fired up after losing that rivalry game Saturday. But the real thing is, can the South Carolina offensive line hold up? Can Norris keep control of the ball? It seems like as soon as the ball snapped, it doesn't matter how much time they give him in the pocket, he looks to be Superman and run the ball. Which, I'm not just talking crap because I'm a Clemson fan. It's true. You see it on tape everywhere. And then can he keep control of the ball, fumble the snap with the first play of the game? So I'm going to take Oklahoma in that game. I think they do sneak out with a dub. But it would not surprise me if South Carolina got that one upset.
Yeah, I obviously don't want to pick South Carolina, but been at home the last couple times South Carolina's played. I've watched the game with my brother who's a South Carolina fan, goes to South Carolina. So I hear about their struggles just as much as he hears about Clemson's struggles. But South Carolina they've got a good quarterback. They've got a good front seven defensively. I think they have the tools to win this game. I hate to pick them, but at the same time, I can see them coming out with that upset. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to take the Gamecocks this one.
Yeah, and we'll end it with Clemson SMU. I think we open up as we're 13. I don't think so. No, we opened up as a 9.5 point favorite. So I think it opened up. What did it open up as? Can't remember. But it opened up as 8.5. So we've gained 1.5. So, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Obviously, Clemson's got to come out here. Same momentum, start fast. Got to get a fast start Saturday. I'd like to have the ball first. Let Cade and that offense go out there and just, build on that momentum and, carry it on from Chapel Hill, Chestnut Hills, and, skate with a W. The defense has to be stout. Got to have a big game from Will Help, DeMonte Capehart, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Sammy Brown, Wade's got to have a big game. Somebody's got to play the QB spot. Jennings is going to be running all over the field. And then, I think Avion Terrell, Ashton Hampton, Ricardo Jones, one of the guys in the secondary have a big game as well.
I think Clemson can win this game depending on how Cade is in the pocket. If he can really light up the field throwing it wise, I think he's got a great chance to win this game. Looking at SMU's 2 losses with Baylor and TCU, they did a tremendous job just hitting the wide open man. I think TCU, when they played them, they had a guy that had like 200 yards in one game. So I think if Cade can play one of his best games or one of his better games compared to a couple of games this season, I think the Tigers take care of it. But obviously, taking Clemson in this one.
Yeah, for a score prediction, I'll go. It just depends. This Jennings offense is going to be ready to play. Their defense not statistically very good, and we haven't seen that from our defense as well. But the defenses look pretty good the last couple of weeks. We need some takeovers. Got to win the turnover margin. Got to play 4 quarters of complimentary football. But give me the Tigers. I'll take them. We'll say 34-21. Tigers win that ball game. So, other than that, I'm Cole Gerard.
Thomas.
We'll see you guys next week, hopefully after a dub on the Tigers Den Podcast. The Tigers Den Podcast.